Hello, people and bots. Grandpa Canuck here, and we're back in Hearts of Iron 4 Black Ice mod running, and we have a tutorial for you today on understanding the industry rework. Now, if you have your normal screen here and you hit the Black Ice button, it comes up with the introduction to Black Ice, and there's a good description of the industry rework here. So this is talking about the food, the power plants, the coal, the fuel, energy, how all of the production is changed with the refineries, engines and artillery capacity, all these things that have been modified in the game. So the major tab we're talking about here is under trade here, the refineries and energy. Okay, so as you look across the top here on the items you're dealing with, a number of these items are more closely related. The bauxite is a direct link to aluminum. Iron is a direct link to steel. Okay? And there's a number of things that are affecting these, and understanding them is needed. Okay, the energy is really taking into account the electric grid for your country. And the electricity is produced through three different ways. You have the hydro plants, which are not buildable. They are conquerable. There are special events and items, depending on the country, where the number can be altered. You can build power plants, and you will notice under construction, okay, all these items here and power plants. So you get the effect on them according to various things that you've picked up along the game here. And as you can see, you can click on it and you can build. So this adds to the building count in the various locations. Okay, so that can be altered here. The same with all these engine factories, assembly plants, and everything else. So it's a little more detailed than it was. Now, the amount of energy you have is distributed out through these four sources, or these four users. Okay, so you have your civilian factories, your military factories, your dockyards, and your refineries. Okay, now refineries are including steel refineries, aluminum refineries, rubber refineries, and fuel refineries, all four. And you can choose the priority that you want on these. Okay, and it will show you the breakdown of how much is used in each sector. Now these could be altered, not only increased through building more power plants, but they could be damaged through enemy bombing as well. So these are things you have to take into consideration. And what you'll notice here is this golden green bar. So this is showing you the amount of electrical power grid that's used and how much is surplus. And it will show you on a deficit. And if you run into a deficit for any reason, that's when your priorities will kick in and determine which sector gets the shortage. Okay? Not a big deal in the beginning of playing Germany, for instance, but it is very, very different for a number of the small nations right from the beginning. And depending on where you are in the war with whatever country, it does need attention. Okay. The refineries. Now this is what is producing your steel, your aluminum, synthetic fuel, and synthetic rubber. And you'll notice each one of these areas has blocks, and it shows you how many you have and how many you're using. Right? So there I'm using 2 to produce my own synthetic. And I have 1. Of course, I can increase these over time. Some things to consider is what they're using. If you increase the number of any of them, you are going to need more of the needed resources. Okay. So I'm just going to start at the bottom here with the synthetic rubber. Synthetic rubber uses a lot of energy. So if your energy is really, really tight and you want to increase your rubber production, your synthetic rubber production, you're going to have to pay attention to your power grid electrical production. Because there's no sense increasing your synthetic rubber production capability if you don't have the power to power it. You're just going to hurt it or something else. Okay? There's one refinery. Same goes for the synthetic fuel production. It uses coal and energy. Not as much energy, 20 compared to 30. This is the big energy hog at 30 a crack here. Okay. 40, and there's 2 of them. And it uses 16 coal per unit, per block. Okay. Aluminum. Aluminum per block is using 30 bauxite and 15 energy. It's a fair energy consumer as well here on your grid. The steel is a little bit more complex. It uses the iron, the coal, and the energy, but there's also the ability to add the alloying metals. And by doing this, you can increase the production, okay, by whatever this amount is. In the beginning for Germany, that's 5. That can change through the game depending on your technologies that you get. So each one of these boxes is producing 30, but if I add 3 alloying metals, and that would be for each box, I can increase it by 5. So by adding this, if I have it, I can produce 35, and then I need less of them, so I need less coal, less iron, and less energy for that. If I don't have it, and I've got lots of energy, so you're going to have to play the game accordingly. Conquering Yugoslavia, there's a big 78 down here of alloying metals. That's great. Conquer that, and I've got lots of free stuff to use. Okay. Same here with Sweden. Sweden has a big 78. Okay, so you can trade with these countries to get this, but it's going to take some of your trade. So it's a balancing effect that's going to happen here. So there is a reason, for certain countries to be important in the game, and getting these, metals It's all related back to these industries. Okay. Now, in the beginning of the game, Germany does not have access to the Rhineland, so it doesn't have access to any of this stuff in this area, which you see drastically affects its supply of iron and bauxite. And rubber, even. Didn't notice that one was there. And, therefore, that's why the Rhineland is very important to take early, because it affects your ability to work with these industries. Okay. Now, these usually take a day or two to balance out. And when you're starting, I've got a little bit of setup here. Let's just have a look at what our situation is. I've set up trades to take care of a few things, but you'll notice I have some definite lows. So first of all, let's have a look. Do I have enough aluminum for my needs? And I do not. And the reason for that is I'm short. See the blue? Okay, so I don't have enough bauxite. I've got enough aluminum production, but I don't have the bauxite to supply it. So I'm going to need more. Okay, so let's just we'll get a trade with Hungary. Okay, and we're looking here, and we're 211 short. Well, that's about 8 more of these. So I'm going to need 14 of these running that I have. So now I know that I am 345 iron short of what my needs are. So let's go to Sweden, and we will try and trade for 350 with them. Okay, so let's just watch how this changes when it goes past the new day. Okay, there we go. So now you see it's coming in, but I've altered my production of steel somewhere along the line, and I'm still 46 short. So if I add 1, watch the numbers. See how this is down 17. It doesn't have enough. Okay, and I need 35 more. So I'm going to need 2 more, which means I'm going to need 57 more. So I'm going to need 3 more clicks. Okay. My rubber and everything else looks to be set. Let's run this to the new day. And I'm finally, I'm just a little short still. Now I'm a little short of the iron, but I have enough steel production for my production. Now, if you don't have enough steel, whoops, I want that tab. If you don't have enough steel, you'll notice in your factories, the items over here on the right show what they need. Okay. Steel, aluminum, air production capacity, engine capacity, okay, because it's a plane. So it'll start at the bottom of the list here, and it will short. If you don't have the iron to produce these, you've got a problem. And up the list you go. Let's just take the ships off of it for now. So if I was short, it would start to short the steel, or the aluminum, okay? And there's also these other items that we now have, such as engine production capacity. And you can see them listed here. And of course, in the beginning of the war, Germany has lots of excess production capability in all the categories, but the more you produce, then you limit yourself down. Almost everything that is mobile takes engines. Most things other than tanks that are mobile take rubber. Okay? And then there is the more specialized ones that are airplanes, which are engine capacity and air production capacity. So you may have to increase these either through focuses or building them to increase what your desired production is. Similarly, tanks. Okay. There's an engine production, steel needs, and tank production capacity. Okay. You can't produce more tanks than what you have tank production capacity for. So if this number, approaches 0 here on the right, okay, and these can all be affected. These can all be affected by enemy bombing as well. So you may have the factories that are bombed out. You could have factories that don't have enough electrical energy grid, okay, and you may not be able to produce the quantity that you that you want for these reasons. So as the game progresses, if something isn't being produced, you'll have to see what's causing the problem. Are you short the iron? Are you short the production capacity? Okay, is it bombed out? Okay, is your real problem the fact that you don't have any air defense and they're bombing your factories out? The logistics of your system is failing. Okay, can you use the focus tree to do something about that? Yeah, there's many things on the focus tree that can change things. Expand the aircraft factories. Here you get assembly plants. Okay, strengthen the tank force. You get tank assembly plants. Now, you don't need that if you haven't used your tank capacity. You don't need this if you're not using your aircraft capacity. So depending on how you play the game and what you want to build, right, these particular focuses may not be needed at a certain time and may be needed later. If you're getting bombed out and the enemy's constantly bombing your tank assembly plants, then you may want some extra, and you may want this if you haven't had it before. Okay? And this applies for several items, throughout. Germany has a number of focuses dealing with the synthetics. And so, again, the focuses tie into the refineries and the engine, which then ties into your factory production. Okay, so it's all connected, and you have to remember to investigate and find out if you have a problem, where your weakness is. And like any economy, you have to plan ahead. Boy, I'm going to introduce higher models of tanks that take more tank production capacity. I'm going to switch from making Panzer IIIs to making Tigers. And the Tigers take more production capacity, maybe more engine capacity too, depending on how you design your tank. Same with the airplanes. Okay, you go from a very basic fighter to a more elaborate fighter to a jet fighter. Okay, and those changes are going to affect the items you need. So you may have to plan ahead and build some, artillery foundries, some engine factories, some tank assembly plants, some air assembly plants, some capital shipyards. You may need to, depending on your nation as well, you may need to increase your steel mills, your aluminum mills, your synthetic refineries, your synthetic rubber refineries. The industrial farm is your agriculture improvement. Okay, these are all storages here. Okay, and of course your power plants may need to increase as well. So these resources and these factories, okay, are linked. So it's not just about building the military factories and deciding you're going to build lots of tanks. You have other items you have to consider, right? Getting the right amount of steel, getting the right amount of tank assembly production capability. And these are all things that will lead to you having the logistics you need to get the equipment to the troops you need to handle the military task of attack or defense that you want to do. So that pretty much wraps up my tutorial. When you're watching this on YouTube, if there's a question you have, please state the time frame of my reference so I can check it to better answer your question. Please hit that subscribe button. If you want to see more tutorials like this, please let me know what you need a tutorial on. If you are having difficulty and you cannot find a tutorial, remember you can click on the black ice, okay, and there's a guide that you can go to. This takes you to an external site, okay, which is the Steam guide to the official Black Ice guide for Hearts of Iron 4. This is fairly well written. Well, not fairly well, quite well written. Most everything's in here. Sometimes, some people don't understand tutorials written very, very well, and you need somebody to verbalize it like I do here for you. If you like doing your own investigation, I highly recommend first looking on this tutorial here, for Black Ice. And you can do it right within the game, right here. You don't have to open another window or anything else. Okay? And that's the industrial rework. I didn't talk too much about the food. It's just another one of those items you have to manage along the way. So that is really a small addition to what I've talked about here. And it's pretty easy to figure out. If you don't have enough food, you either have to conquer places where you get food, trade for the food, or increase your production. And food is used, it's another resource, it's used by your people and your military, and you need to plan for that as well. So this is Grandpa Canuck, hoping all you people and bots are having a good day, and we'll see you on the next tutorial. So, be good to one another. Take care, all you people and bots. Oh, and remember, subscribe. Leave me comments. Let me know what you like and don't like about my tutorials. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.